Where's my demonstration? There you are, Bojana. And where's Latorya? Oh, there you are. See, she already brought her up. Okay, now there's only 2 of you, so up on that stage, honey. And Sid, it's all your...
Hiya!
Oh, you know what? Real quick, I'm just going to show just a couple of slides to the same thing, because we see figure girls doing this all the time. They try to round their back, they think they're opening it, but they tend to lean forward and round it, and I know Sid's going to talk about that.
Back to the stage, ladies. So we're going to go through the mandatories, which are what I say the most important part, because if you can't hold your mandatories, you're not going to make it in the call-out. If everything starts shifting and you can't hold that pose, we'll go over pose conditioning at the end too. Then you're going to kind of have a downfall. So, the base to your front pose, your heels should always be together. Sometimes you'll see girls' heels kind of separate a little bit, which you don't want because it looks funky in pictures. I'm very OCD about pictures. My pictures have to be cute. So, you always have to think about that. So you see Latorya behind, they have their heels together. Now, the key thing, I'm going to get in front of here. Dependent on your body, everything is specific to your body, how much quad you have, what your waist looks like, because all you want to do is create angles and create shape. So the most important part for every category is remembering what your goal is, more sweet. Whether she has it or not, it's going to make it look like she does. But if we put that same turnout on Latorya, and if it all of a sudden makes her legs bigger than her shoulders, bigger than her back, she's now not symmetrical. And figure symmetry is everything. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to all the details. From your ankles, to your knees, to your turnout, to your hips, to your ribs, in terms of creating that shape that you want to create. So from the feet, we flex the quads. Everything comes from bottom to the top. You sit into the hips because you want to make sure your quad is completely flexed. One rule of thumb, your quad is not completely flexed if you don't see a little hip dip, I like to call them. You should see your hip flexor separation here. That's when your quad is completely flexed. Until then, you're only half stepping. You're going to get your shoulders out if you relax those traps. What I always say is traps down, lats come around. The higher your traps are, the more your lats are going, because keep in mind, if you just break it down to anatomy, your ribs and your lats are attached. If you see somebody breathing heavily, which is also posing conditioning 101, Bojana's ab control is excellent. It has never changed in the years that I've seen her. I'm serious. So when she's lifting, her lats are staying out because she's not breathing. Her rib cage is not opening and closing and opening and closing. Depending on when a judge is looking at her, you're going to get 2 different shapes if she starts breathing heavily. So always watch that. Okay. Quarter turn to the right. Now when you turn, you do not let your belly button drop and you get, don't let it start going here, okay? Don't let it start going here. From here, you see them up tall. Think of everything, what I like to call it as a muscular ballerina. Because if you don't actually have lats or know how to get them out, your whole shape will disappear from here. Like you see how Bojana has nice shoulder, nice lats, small waist. This would not be here if she didn't know how to open it. So always pay attention to that. Quarter turn to the right. One of the most important poses. So now current day hamstrings are much more important. So the key thing here is what Sandy talked about. You don't want to tilt over, the same thing in bikini. You don't want to tilt all the way over because the more you tilt over, for us in particular, go ahead, Newman. So if you tilt here, yeah, you may have your hamstrings in, but where is the rest of your back? Now I can't see anything and I'm supposed to be seeing your shape. If I can't see your shape because you're standing over, giving me hamstring and glutes, this is the most important part too. All of this posterior chain needs to go together. So you also want to have the same concept too with your heels. Heels together. Feet can turn. Other variation of front pose too, the feet are open a little bit more. So there's 2 different ways you can do your front pose. Sometimes a body looks better with the feet closer, with the heels together, but you do have the option to separate those feet. So what I always say is I call it thigh meat, okay? This piece right here, we call that thigh meat. If you have thigh meat, you might need to open up to get the thigh meat through, okay? From there, same thing, same premise as figure. You're just able to flex a little bit harder, open up a little bit more, push it to the ground using those feet. Key difference here for Physique, you can use the floor even more because you're not in heels. So use the floor, use to your advantage. Quarter turn to the right. The mandatories are the same. So the same thing we did for figure, the same thing we do for women's physique. Opening up, still giving that shape. Keeping the ribs lifted, shoulders are pushed, legs are flexed. See here, you notice that Natalia has her feet staggered. There's a couple of different reasons you can do that. When you Stagger defeat is able to give you more push through this hamstring that you're able to see that detail come through, and it gives you even more depth to your physique. So if you're hamstring dominant though, you may not want to stagger, or if you're quad dominant, you may not want to stagger, it'll just magnify it. Quarter turn. Same thing here, you can keep the feet together, you can keep them separated, it just depends on your body and your preference. She's staying lifted, pushing through the floor, making sure the hamstrings and quads are activated. You're able to have more quad and more depth and more detail in women's physique, so you really can push it a little bit more here. But it should still look as effortless as she's making it look. Quarter turn. Same angles here, we're lifted and we're twisted, giving small. She can move that foot physically more forward, so that way it looks it's closer to the judges, it makes your legs a little bit bigger. So if you're lighter in the legs, think about those sheets that are going to give you the balance you want, the detail you want. The abs are in tight, so they're going to flex all the way into their hips. Arms are nice and pretty much level, so you want to be conscious, go ahead and raise your elbows up really, really high, of going up here and crowding your head. Okay, so you want to keep that down. The lower your elbows are, the more lat hang I can get, and see exactly how she wrapped around from the ribs and the lats came around. Okay, side tricep. And she's giving beautiful transitions as she goes. And so what she did here was she dragged the foot in to more of a standard women's bodybuilding position first, and then she extended it. So you're giving two different looks to the leg, which is absolutely okay. So the chest is lifted. Uh-oh, Sandy's coming. Oh, you good? Okay. I'm good, John, I'm good. All right. So here, you're going to use that back left shoulder to push into this left pec. But at the same time, you want to give me a little bit of tricep here. Always give the innocent. I don't take this take this kind of lightly. Give the judges more than what they ask for, but don't go too far left, okay?
Hey everybody. So I think the most important thing when you're posing, of course, is to practice holding a lot of time, a long time. Because as you can see, I'm like out of breath. Because you gotta make it look easy, but it's not easy. Because you're not only thinking about all the little details, everything you have to do, but you cannot breathe. And sometimes Sandy, Steve, whoever's judging you, it's gonna make you stay there for a long time because they wanna see if you can hold it, you know, if you've been practicing. And that's the most important thing because sometimes you get on stage, you look good. 5 seconds later, 10 seconds, 15, and then you relax. And that's when they can mark you down. They can see your flaws. So make sure you're always practicing. Don't wait until it's like 8 weeks out, 5 weeks out, a week out to start practicing. Like you're 20 weeks out, it's time, girls. Let's go, you know. The more you do it, the better you be.